Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charmley. This is another video in the series on churches in the Shropshire Hills. And this is the Church of St Margaret, Acton, Scott. It's very largely a 14th century building with later additions and alterations, and of course the interior has been very much altered in both the Georgian and Victorian eras, and we'll see as we go around. The church has a long connection with the Acton family, for whom, of course, the village is named. They have indeed their own, I suppose, well, in the Middle Ages it might have been called a chapel, but it's not, it's a transept really, but call it the Acton Chapel anyway, and it's on the north side of the church. So as we look around, we'll see some of the features, we'll see things that we find in all kinds of churches, and also things that are special and unique to this building. So let's do just that. As usual, then, we start at the west end, and as usual we have the font here. I mean, there are unusual churches that don't have a west end font, but this is not one of them. And it's Victorian, but it's a nice big one, and it hasn't got any marble inlay or anything, so that's nice. There's also a nice wooden Victorian pulpit, we do like them, and around the walls we can see what happened to the 18th century box pews. They got recycled. There used to be a couple of columns holding up the gallery here. I presume the gallery no longer needs them, otherwise they'd still be here. But the bases are still there because they're tied into the, there we are, they're tied in to the pews. And this over here is the Acton Chapel. It's really, of course, a transept added as their family pew. The Actons are the big house family here, have been, of course, for hundreds of years, but the family, in fact, has had their ups and downs, their changes. There's been times when the male line has failed, and there's a couple of examples here. We have, for example, here, Thomas Pendle Stackhouse Acton. He was the third son of John Stackhouse and Susanna, his wife, born at Pendle, so he's Thomas Pendle Stackhouse for that reason. And what happens is that the actual Acton family fails in the male line, and so having married the heiress, he then takes the name Acton to continue the line. It would be, in fact, a requirement for him to inherit. It's the heir must take the name Acton. So here we have it. That's not a vestry there, that's a cupboard under there. The actual vestry is in the base of the tower, and you can't get up into the gallery, and at least not as far as I can tell. I'm not going to try. This is a half-decent jacket I'm wearing, and don't want it covered in cobwebs. Here again we have Joyce Stackhouse Acton, 1899 to 1992. She's the only child of Augustus and Laura Wood Acton. Her husband, Richard Charles Fulton Smith, 1882 to 1970, took the name of Acton in 1941. So that's, of course, to keep the name Acton going. Augustus Wood Acton there, the older Augustus, so Augustus Wood Acton, he dies 1918, and then we have, be careful here because these pews, there are standings for pews that it's a bit odd. Anyway, of course, this is the door for the Actons to come in. They have their own entrance to the church, not just because of snobbery, but sometimes, you know, your tenant might not want to bump into the lord of the manor in the porch if he actually owes him some money. And so here we look across and we can see here, yes, here we have Laura Charlotte, wife of Augustus Wood Acton, dies 1941, and this is where you get this inheritance again in the female, through the female line, and the Acton name is then taken by the husband, so that the Acton name survives. Nice lectern, nice table there. Now this screen is 19th century from the look of it. Doesn't seem to be anything. I suppose possibly those bits of box pew are old. They don't really count, do they? It's definitely not a medieval screen, this one. The interesting thing here, just to go back to the Acton Chapel, you've got this ceiling which is a plaster vault. Victorians hated them, but they look rather nice, really. Just have to remember that no, this is just a bit of decoration. It's a ceiling. It's to hide the roof that's behind it, but the Victorians didn't like that. The Victorians like to show roofs. Now, some roofs are worth seeing. There's a couple in here, in fact, of course. You look up there, that's a roof that's worth seeing. And this is a roof that's worth seeing as well. But that one I doubt is worth seeing. It's supposed to be hidden like that. The organ, nice big organ, of course. You've got the Acton family, and they give a nice big organ here to the church before the organ was put up there. And of course the floors had to be strengthened to hold that. Before the organ was put up there, you would have had the gallery band would play up there. That roof is held together with wooden pegs rather than nails. An old form of construction. How old is it? I mean, bits of it look like it might be 14th, 15th century. Obviously it's been restored over time. So this is a lovely, lovely building. Nice 18th century communion rails, memorials, various people, William Erwick, 1840, and John Thomas of the Crifton, 1844. Edward Parker has put a memorial to the memory of his parents and forebears who for several generations sleep in this churchyard. It's in Sheffield, last surviving son, 1877. And here we have Edward Acton's memorial. No, not that Edward Acton or any other Edward Acton than this Edward Acton. He's born in, where are we? 1680, dies 1747. Lovely memorial. We've got these technical term flaming urns at the top. They're urns, of course, with flames coming out of them. The communion table is a table, but of course it's it's clearly fixed down to prevent people stealing it, which is a shame. And you see that chest there again is bolted down to keep it. It's a shame people have to do that. But as here's another Edward Acton, who died in 1775. And nice east window. Again, we've got this Holman Hunt Light of the World pastiche. Holman Hunt is just incredibly popular, you see. And Light of the World is a really popular picture. It's, I think Holman Hunt's picture is better than this east window. Let's put it that way. Moving swiftly on, we've got a couple of figures there. Peter and St. Paul. It's an old brass. That's not going to turn up very well, though. But there is a brass there, husband and wife with their children. 3 o'clock, says the bell. And this is General Robert Phillips of the Bengal Army, born Ludlow, 1750, died Shrewsbury, 1838, aged 88. During a residence of 33 years in the East Indies, he was actively employed in the service of his country, and having distinguished himself in many places, particularly at Benares, he became at length senior officer in the Honourable East India Company's service. He was a brave soldier, a true patriot, a faithful subject, a kind husband, a good father, and an upright man. And thankfully has not been cancelled yet. And woe to anyone who does try to cancel him. Yes, he's a colonial soldier. It was the past. It was different. Let the past be the past. Let the colonial past exist, because it does exist. Irony. I'm just going to rant about this for a moment. There's a certain irony about people saying, "Oh, we have to delete this." Well, if you delete it, you end up behaving as though this never happened. How can you learn from a past that you delete? But there we are. Here we have the War Memorial. Sorry about the light. It means it's almost impossible to see what's going on here. But again, it's a good War Memorial, First World War. And then we're back to the door. Nice door. So let's go outside and see what we can see. And so here we are outside Acton Scott. There's a dog over there that barks when I talk, so sorry about that. Here we are at Acton Scott. You can see typical 14th century church, chancel, nave, tower, porch. The porch is an 18th century addition. The top of the tower clearly is a bit later, maybe 15th, even 16th century. But typical building on this site of 3 parts, plus porch of your typical English parish church. So let's have a look around and make some comments on what we can see. Also, it's a bit in the shade here just because of the trees around the church. So here we are. This is, of course, the southeast corner. You can see that east window, the triple lance. It's clearly 19th century. Now this is Parker tomb that we saw memorial inside, and this is the outside memorial. Just one big window in the nave, and then the little window for the gallery, and a nice porch, and then we have this, rather than a churchyard cross, there is a sundial, which doesn't do very much good these days. It's overshadowed all the time by a great big yew tree. Agricultural noises over there. The porch is dated 1722, so 1722 this porch is built, and there you can see you've got this inside the porch. Outside door, so inside there's the vestry, and you've got this little window up there for the upper stage where the gallery is, and then also the upper stage is where it's rung from clearly, and then there is the top part, and you can clearly see it's a totally different stonework, totally different date. So another whacking great yew tree. These are really old trees. I mean, these are hundreds of years old. Certainly go back into the Middle Ages. Nice door, nice window there. Really nice tracer or glazing. Really nice glazing. Memorial there to a former rector, former incumbent who died in the early 20th century, and there we have the Acton Chapel, and beside it the burial place of the Actons with this nice iron fence there, but no iron fence on this side, and you have the overgrown, sadly overgrown graves. Nice window there. But it's the most interesting location. Acton Hall is somewhere in there, I believe. It certainly seems to be somewhere in those trees. And this is the Acton door. So if you come in, if you're going into the Acton pew, you come in through this door rather than the main door. I say you might save some awkwardness if you've got a gentleman, for example, who is a tenant who is perhaps not up on his rent and doesn't really want to bump into the squire on the way in. So it's not just snobbery. So there we are. That's the Acton Chapel, and we're back at the east end. And so there we have it, Acton Scott, St Margaret's lovely building. So very typical of these smaller English churches, but it's not a very, very small church. It's a sort of it's small but has all the normal parts type church. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I certainly enjoyed coming out here, making it on this glorious summer day. So thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you until next time.